Hello there, Mark Cunningham here, and in this video we're going to learn how to bulk import bills into Xero. So in this video I'll show you how to set up the import file, and I'll also give you lots of tips along the way to ensure a successful import. I used the Australian version of Xero's demo company, but it's pretty much the same process all around the world, so you can watch this video no matter where you're from. Also, if you'd like to learn more about Xero, then check out the links to our courses in the description below. Okay, so when you're creating bills in Xero, there's two ways that you can do it. The first way is one at a time, and the second way is by using the bulk importer, which you can do to save time. Now there's a couple of different situations in which you might want to bulk import, and they are if you're converting to Xero or if you're using it for the first time, or just when you have lots of bills to create at any one time. So Xero does provide a CSV upload file that you can prepare in Microsoft Excel or Google Sheets. So I'll show you how to do that. And I'll also give you lots of tips that you can use to get the import right as we go along. Okay, so let's jump into Xero now and we'll see how this is done. Okay, so just over here in the Australian demo company, all we need to do to get started is go to Business and Bills to Pay. And then we just need to click on the Import button. Okay, and then I'm taken to a screen here where it's just giving me a few options for where I'm actually importing my information from. So because I'm in Australia, it's giving me these options for MYOB, which is a different type of accounting and bookkeeping software. So if you're in a different country, you might see something else here like Sage or Reckon, for example. But we're not going to use that anyway. I'm just pointing it out. Instead, you need to choose Xero. And then just below here, you'll see a link to download the Xero import template. And that's what we're going to do. And we're going to open it up in Excel. And then a bit further down, there's some more instructions, but we'll go through those once we actually go to do the upload. All right, so I'll just click on here to download the template. And you can see down the bottom here, it's a CSV file and it's going to open up in Excel for me. But you can actually import this into Google Sheets if you don't have Excel and you use Google Sheets. So I'll just open it up in Excel. Okay, so now we're inside our template. And what we've got here is we've got a bunch of data field names along the top here, which I'll just expand so we can see it properly. So we've got things like the contact name, the email address, the invoice number or the bill number, and then we've got the dates, description, etc. So we've got lots of things along there. And then down here, this is where we fill out the information for the bills that we're going to upload. And these field names correspond to fields on the bills in Xero. So we'll just go back to Xero and I'll just show you what I mean. So over here, I'll just duplicate this screen and we'll go back into bills. Okay, so let's just open up this Heritage Trust bill. Okay, and you can see here we've got from, and we've got some dates, the bill date, the due date, we've got a reference there, and we've got things like description, quantity, price, etc. Those are the things that correspond to what we saw in the template. So we need to fill out the template in such a manner that we create a bill like this over here, or whatever the bill may be. So you'll see that as we go. I just wanted to sort of point out what corresponds to what. So let's go back into Excel. Okay, so just one more thing about these field names. You can see some of them have an asterisk like that one and invoice number. So when they have that, they're actually compulsory. So you have to fill out that information. The ones that don't have the asterisk, they're not compulsory. You can leave those blank. So what I might do is I'll just highlight these red like that so we can see them a little bit better. And I'll just scroll across to make sure we've got all of them, which we do. Okay, so they're the compulsory fields that we're going to need to fill out on each line for our bills. And just before we get started with our first bill, I just want to point out something with the contact name. So if you want to upload a bill for an existing contact in Xero that you've already got in Xero, you need to make sure you get the name exactly right that you type in here. So if I go back to Xero, where we've got the Heritage Trust over here, If we wanted to create a new bill for the Heritage Trust, we need to make sure we type that in exactly as it is in Xero. So if we do, it will assign the bill to that particular contact. If we don't, if we get even one letter wrong, it will create a brand new contact and it will assign the bill to the brand new contact. So that's just something to keep in mind when you're filling out that contact field, which is the one just over here, the contact name field. Just make sure you get that exactly right. If you do want to create a new contact, if you've got a bill for a brand new contact, you can just go ahead and put their name in, and Xero will create the new contact when you upload this template. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to create a one-line bill. And as we're doing it, I'll just explain some of these fields to you as we go along. So I'm going to create one for the Heritage Trust, which is the same as the one that we just opened up in Xero, so we can see how that goes into the same contact name. So I'll just type the name in now. Okay, so I've just put the name in as Heritage Trust, just as it is in Xero at the moment. So these next fields along here, which are the contact details, you can see there's email address and there's post office address, etc. If you've already got this information in Xero for the contact and you don't want to change it, you can just leave that blank. If you do want to make changes though, let's say there's a new email address, you can actually put it in here and it will upload it and it will overwrite what's already in Xero. So just be careful of that. Just only put information through here if you want to overwrite what's already in Xero, or you want to add something to it that's not already there. But I'm just going to leave all that as is, so I won't put anything in there. Okay, so the next field here is the invoice number. So if we've been given an invoice from the Heritage Trust, it will have an invoice number on it that becomes our bill, so we can just put that in there. So just bear in mind that the invoice number needs to be unique. It needs to be something that's not already in Xero. If it is in Xero and you go to upload this file, even if you've got lots of different bills and lots of different lines, this particular line will not upload if there's a duplicate invoice number. So I'll just put something in there that should be unique. Okay, so there's my invoice number. So along here, next we've got the dates. We've got the invoice date and the due date. So all you really need to do here is just make sure you've got the right date format. So for me, that will be day, day, month, month, year, 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 year. And if you're in the US, you might just have your days and months the other way around. So I'll just go ahead and put the dates in. Okay, so I've just got 15th of July as the invoice date, and then it's due 1 month later on the 15th of August. The next one along is the inventory item code. So if you have inventory in Xero, or you use products and services for services and you've got item codes, you can put that code in here. I'm not going to use it for this particular bill. If you do use that in Xero, this is where you would put it in. So I'm not really going to go on and explain how that works in here because I've got other lessons on that. So I'll just leave that blank. Next up, you've got your description, and you can see that that's not actually compulsory, but I'll put one in anyway. Okay, so I've just put it in as a subscription. I've just put something really basic in there. Obviously put a proper description in there if you've got a proper bill that you're doing. So the next fields along are the quantity and the unit amount. So this is where you will put in, as it says, the quantity and then the amount per quantity, and then Xero will work out the total value of this particular line. So I'll just show you what I mean. If we go back to Xero, okay, just over here. So you've got in this bill that we opened up before for the Heritage Trust, you've got quantity 1, unit price 120. So the total amount for this line is 120. So these are the two fields that we're filling in on our template. You've just got to get your quantity and unit price, and you don't need to type that in. So let's go back. Okay, and what I'll do is I'll just put that in now. Okay, so I've just put in quantity 2, unit amount 100. So the value or the total value of this particular line is going to be 200. All right, next up, we've got the account code and the tax type. So this is your general ledger code. And I'll just show you again where that is. Over here in Xero. So that's here where we've got account and where we've got tax rate. So the GST tax rate. So we need to make sure we get that right. So what I'll do is I'll just duplicate the screen and we'll go into the chart of accounts and I'll show you where that comes from. So if we just go to the expenses tab. Okay, so the one that was on that particular bill was subscriptions down here. So you've got subscriptions as the name of the general ledger account, 485 is the code, and then over here you've got the GST tax rate. So this is GST on expenses. So because I'm in Australia, we've got GST. If you're in another country, you might have GST as well, but you might have different names for your tax rates. Or if you're in the UK, for example, you might have VAT. In the US or other places, you might have different kinds of sales tax. But whatever the case, you need to make sure you get this number and this tax rate attached to the number exactly right. So I'm actually going to post my bill to this exact same general ledger code. So I just need to get 485 and GST on expenses and type it in over here. Okay, so I've just put that in there, the 485 and the GST on expenses. Obviously, make sure you type in your tax rate exactly as it appears in your chart of accounts. So moving along, the next few fields which are not compulsory are for tracking categories. So if you use tracking categories and you want to assign things to certain regions or head office departments or whatever you've got, you can go ahead and put your information in here. I've got other lessons on this, so I'm not going to go through that here and explain what that is. And I'm also not going to use it on this bill. But if you do use it, this is where you put it in. And then finally on the end here, we've got currency. So this particular Xero file that I'm using has Australian dollars as the currency. So this bill is in Australian dollars, so I don't need to type anything in there if I don't want to. If I'm using multiple currencies in my Xero file, and this happened to be, say, a New Zealand dollar bill, then I can type NZD into here and it will upload it as New Zealand dollars instead of Australian dollars. And the other thing to note is that if you've got a multi-line bill, you can only have one currency for that bill. So if we had a second line here, we couldn't, for example, have line 1 as Australian dollars and line 2 as New Zealand dollars. It would all need to be Australian dollars, or it would all need to be New Zealand dollars. So you can't mix your currencies up per bill when you're doing this upload. Okay, so that's all we need for a single line bill. So what I'll do now is I'll create a 2-line bill so you can see how that works as well. And we'll also do it to a contact that doesn't exist in Xero yet. So we'll do it to a brand new contact. So I'll just go ahead and fill in all the information and then we'll have a look at it afterwards. Okay, so now I've got all the information filled in for a 2-line bill. So it's going to be to ABC123. That's the supplier that we're going to pay. And like I said, that's a brand new supplier that doesn't exist in Xero yet. So Xero will create that when we do the upload. If we did fill in some information along here, it would also upload that information. So their contact email address, etc. I'm just not going to bother doing that right now. I'm just letting you know that you can do that if you want to. And then over here in the invoice number, to make sure that these 2 lines go to the same bill in Xero, so it only creates one bill, you need to make sure you put the exact same invoice number on the lines. So if this was a 10-line bill, for example, you'd need to put that on all 10 lines. So that should be fine. I've got that in there. And then we've just got some dates again. And then over here, I've just got a description there for each line. I've got a quantity for each line, and I've got the unit amount for each line. And then over here, I've just also got the general ledger code. So this 412, that's a consulting general ledger code from our chart of accounts. And that one there is a freight and courier code from our chart of accounts. So again, I've just fished those out from the chart of accounts, made sure I've got the tax type right. And then over here, I haven't put anything else, but once again, if I needed to put a different currency in or some tracking options in there, I could go ahead and do that. Okay, so what we've got now is we've got a 1-line bill and a 2-line bill. So we can just click on save. Okay, and then we can go ahead and upload this into Xero. So we'll just go back over there and we'll just go back to this screen. Okay, so back over here. So we'll just scroll down a little bit. All right, so we've just done step 1 over here. And then we've also done step 2 where we've copied our bills into the template. So we just filled it out manually because we only had a couple of lines, but there's just a little write up here about if you need to export some bills information from your previous or other accounting system, you can just then copy and paste it into the right columns in that template that we just saw. And there's just a little warning here about making sure that you don't change those column headings, because if you do, then the import won't work. So you've got to leave that line alone, that first line. All right, and just down here, there's a couple of other things to take note of. Would you like to update contact address details? So you can click on yes or no. So remember I said if you type in some address details, including the email address, you can overwrite what's already in Xero for contacts that are there. So you can actually, here you can choose yes or no for that. So if you, for some reason, type some things in there, but you actually don't want to overwrite those details, you can click on no. And the other thing is the unit amount field, whether it's tax inclusive or exclusive. So this is a GST thing again. So depending on what country you're from, you might have something slightly different here. So what this means is I've got tax exclusive selected there, which means if I go back to my spreadsheet, it just means that these amounts here in the unit amount column, they don't include GST. So when we import that, it's going to add GST on top of these numbers. If I do the other option, then we're basically telling Xero that these amounts do include GST, but I'm going to leave these as exclusive by selecting that one. So that means if it's $100 over there, it's going to import as $100 and then add $10 of GST on the top because our GST rate is 10%. All right, so that's basically everything. So what we need to do now is just select the file. So you can click on select or you can drag and drop. So I'll just select it. And it's just here. All right, so there it is. So I'll just click on confirm. All right, so Xero's just checked the file and you can see there it says 2 bills. And we've got 2 bills, but we've got 3 lines because one of them had 2 lines. But it's identified that as a 2-line bill, that second one, so that's great. And then it also says 2 new draft bills will be imported. So they're imported as drafts, which gives you an opportunity to make changes if you want to, and to go through an approval process if that's something you do in your business. You can also see I don't have any errors on here. If you made any errors, you will get error messages on here and you can go back and make some changes. All right, let's complete the import. Okay, so here we are now in bills and we're in the drafts tab, and you can see here that we've got our 2 draft bills. So there's that one there from the Heritage Trust, and you can see that that column where we put the invoice numbers in, that's come through as reference numbers on here. So this is the one-liner. I'll just click into that. Okay, and you can see that it's just created that one line for the subscription. The quantity was 2, the unit price was 100. So it's done the total as $200 over here. And then it's added the GST on top because we brought it through as tax exclusive. If we had it as inclusive, it would have had 200 as the total, and then it would have assumed that 1/11 of that is GST. All right, so I'll just put that back. And as I said, this is a draft, so you can go through and you can select these fields and you can make changes if you want to, but that's all fine. So we can just go ahead and approve it, or we can just save it as a draft again, or whatever you like. I'll just click on cancel. And we'll just quickly look at ABC123, the bill for them. Okay, so this is the 2-line bill that we uploaded. So everything is pretty much exactly as I explained for the 1-line bill, except this time we have the 2 lines because we put that number on 2 different lines when we did the import. And just to finish off, I'll just go over to contacts. So we'll just go into contacts, all contacts. Okay, and here we can see ABC123. This is the contact that it created. and there's that 2-line bill there in the contacts history. And we don't have any real information in here. If I click on edit, you can see we've just got the contact name. We don't really have the email address or anything else in here because we didn't type it in. If we did type it in, then the information would have come through in here and it would have added it to the contact. Okay, so that's how you can use the bulk import tool for bills, and you can import 1-line bills or multi-line bills, and you can create new contacts as well as you're doing it. So that's a good time saver if you need to bring in a whole lot of bills at once into Xero.